All right. Welcome back to another episode of the Real Estate Investing Club. Today we have Vince Hall with us from Call Porter. Call Porter is a 24/7 live answering real estate specific call center. So I know you guys out there, you're doing your marketing, you're getting calls coming in. Sometimes I know, at least for me, it is impossible to take all those calls. So it's great to outsource that. And that is what Vince does. So Vince, thank you very much for hopping on the show.
Yeah, man, for sure. Glad to be here. I'm glad to talk about, Call Porter if we can, but I know we're going to talk more about, what I do personally, and we can definitely get into it.
Cool. I told you before we got on here, we like to start with stories. So why don't you take us
Yeah,
to the beginning of your story?
for sure.
Started in real estate.
Yeah. So I'm here in St. Louis, Missouri, by the way. So I got
Cold out there right
into
now, right?
it is cold, man. It's like 11 degrees today, and it feels like
Jeez,
-7 or something like that.
that
So
sucks.
it doesn't phase me all that much. I am
Yeah.
originally from Alaska,
Oh,
so
okay.
different temperatures up there as
Yeah,
well.
I get that week.
Yeah, and I return to Alaska pretty much every summer because I got tons of family up there.
Nice.
Um, but I got into real estate about 3.5, 4 years ago.
Oh, okay.
So right around the time of COVID, I used to be a middle school science teacher.
Wow.
Yeah, so I love teaching, absolutely loved it. Had a great science lab. I was at a private school, so they really hooked me up with, good science resources. However, at the end of the day, teachers, as much as they love their job, do not get paid well.
Right.
So, 2020, COVID hits. I was also going through divorce at that time. So just a lot of
Tough
life
year.
changes, right?
Yeah.
So, I reached out to one of my good friends. His name's Ryan Dawsey. He's an investor himself, and I was just like, "Hey, dude, I need to learn more about this, right?" So he eventually just like gave me a book, and he's like, "You're not ready. Here's a book." And he gave it to me, and I read it. I also,
What was the book, if
got
you don't mind me asking?
it was Anson Young's How to Find and Fund Deals.
Oh, interesting.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, so it was just
Not
a
Rich Dad
really
Poor Dad.
no. Well, I've already read that one.
Yeah.
I think everybody's at some point read that one, right? But yeah, like he gave me a book. I read it. I also was looking to get into the more retail side of real estate as well, which I did. Joined a team, got my license, everything. Was in it for 6 months and hated it. I
Yeah.
was
Pain
just
in the
like,
ass.
this is not for me. I was like, I am not making, 800 cold calls to get one conversation on the phone. Um, I was wasting my weekends away. I was, getting anybody that would let me have an open house. I was getting it, right? But it was just not me,
Yeah.
not me at all.
Yeah.
So I reached out to Ryan again. I was like, dude, I'm not going that route. Like, you gotta do something with me. And so he's like, hey, why don't you come on board at Call Porter and Ballpoint Marketing? I think you could learn a lot just being around all of us and things of that sort. And so that's what I did. And that was about just over 2 years ago, doing that. And that's kind of, when you're in the space of real estate investing, right? It's very contagious
Yeah.
and you cannot help yourself but to learn more and to get into it yourself. So fast forward 2 years later, here I am at, Call Porter Ballpoint. Do a lot of head of sales. I'm the face of Call Porter. So think of me as kind of like the Jake of State Farm. So I do a lot of, commercials, ads, webinars, podcasts, all that kind of stuff.
Nice. I love it.
Yeah. So hopefully that wasn't too long of an intro there.
No, that's good. So 2 years ago, you kind of decided that you're going to go down the route of real estate. What
Yeah.
was the first property you bought?
So I have just a rental, just a
Okay.
small single family home, and it was pretty turnkey. It
Yeah.
was it was ready, didn't need much at all. The team that I worked on as in the retail side of things,
Hmm.
found it for me. She's like, dude, I got a house off market. You need to go look at it. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. I could probably come look at it in a couple of days. She's like, no, you need to like come see it like right now. Like it needs to happen right now. So I went there, bought it immediately.
Nice. Just
Yeah,
like
so that was my first deal. In about 20, that was probably late 2020, early 2021. I can't, really remember when that was. Great renter in that house actually came from Hawaii. So she was paying a buttload of money right in Hawaii for a property. She came to St. Louis for her job, found my little place. She is absolutely amazing on that house.
good tenants
A
make a big
good
difference.
tenant, man. Yeah. And actually in a lot of ways become a friend too.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Have you continued down single family route, or
Yes.
where are you at right now?
Yeah, just single family route. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll kind of get into this, I think, down in the question of my favorite real estate book, but Chad Carson's, the small and mighty real estate investor. I
Uh-huh.
love that idea. I am not out there to be a guru, to be on
Yeah.
social media, to drive a Lambo. I actually drive a Subaru Ascent. I got 5 kids. I'm a
Dude,
family
these
guy.
are legit. You gotta look
Yeah,
at
man.
the Subaru.
Yep.
That's very Alaskan of you, by the
It
way.
is. It is. Yeah. Yeah. I love my Subaru. It's got brown, leather in it, and it's dialed into the nines for sure. But
Nice.
yeah, I'm
So
just want to be small and mighty, man. Like I'm thinking long term, right?
yeah,
I get the buy and hold, that, 20, 30 years down the road, that's where I'm at.
yeah,
I didn't have a 401k or a savings as a teacher. That didn't exist for me.
totally.
I was putting cash in a shoebox to save. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Um, so it's a totally different story now.
Yeah. Yeah, and and that's what I love about real estate is there are so many different ways to do it.
Hmm.
I do self-storage, mobile home RV parks.
Okay.
But people do single family. I've had guys on that flip farms. Like you can do so many different
So
strategies.
many different things. Yeah.
You can be as involved as you want. You can invest as a limited partner in syndications, or you
Yeah.
can
Be a lender.
create your
Yeah.
own, your own
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so it sounds like you're taking the more, I guess, traditional route, if you want to say that,
Yeah.
which is just buying how many, like, what's your
There.
goal? How many
Yeah.
properties do you want to buy per year?
Right around 10.
Okay.
So not a ton. I'm very targeted on where I want to be.
Yeah.
I do not deviate outside of where I want to be, who I'm looking for. So I also co-host a podcast. I'll throw it out there if you don't mind. It's the
Yeah. Yeah.
Next
Yeah. For sure.
podcast. But
What's the name of
whenever we're talking about horror stories on our podcast, right? Most of the time, a horror story comes along for an investor because they went outside of their boundaries of what they normally do,
Yeah.
right? So if you are listening, just keep that in mind, keep that at the forefront of your mind. Do what you know how to do it and do it really well and stay kind of comfortable in that. And you can kind of take baby steps outside of those boundaries. But just to go outside of it, I've heard so many horror stories, right? So very particular on where I want to be in the St. Louis area. Um, the school district is very important to me. And so if a deal doesn't come across my plate for the month, I'm not going elsewhere to go find one. It's just I lost a month,
Yeah.
and I'm really not all that sad about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And I've fallen into that trap myself, and got
Yeah.
bit pretty hard. Luckily, I haven't lost money on a deal, but when I invested in a market that I didn't know well enough, it was a self storage facility, and I just got kicked in the face. And so,
Mm,
I think that's really good advice for, I mean, any investor, any level, any experience level.
yeah.
When you choose your lane, choose your market, and just get good at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You really focus in, then that's when you really get the results.
Yeah, exactly. And I do everything by credit checks, credit scores, background checks, criminal checks. Um, pretty much I do have a playbook on that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 10 properties per month, that means you got to do some marketing. So let's,
Yeah.
your main job, your primary job is at Call Porter.
Correct.
So tell us about how you find deals, and then
Yep.
how you utilize Call Porter to kind of, take that time back
Yeah.
from you to have to stay on the phone all day.
Yeah. So most of the deals come by referrals, networking with agents, direct mail. So our sister company at Call Porter is Ballpoint Marketing. So, kind of have access to, those kinds of things. Deal Machine is another really good resource, or tool. We can talk about Deal Machine and their app and driving for dollars and door hangers and, again, just getting really targeted, with those tools. Call Porter is absolutely important to me because I do not want to take my own calls. I've been cussed out enough to know that taking your phone calls via direct mail marketing, I don't even want to deal with one of them. It is what it is.
I've
So
always thought it was funny when
yeah,
we'll get calls, we'll send out mailers and people will call us super angry and be like, take us off
yeah,
your list. I'm like, it's just a mailer, throw it
just
away. It's not a big deal. It's literally a postcard.
exact, dude. We get so many. I would say about a third of the phone calls that come into Call Porter are those take me off the list, pretty angry callers.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's like I guess if you got nothing else better to do, make a phone call. But yeah, just throw it in the trash. But Call Porter is available 24/7. So if a call comes in at 10 p.m., they're going to take it, and they integrate with a CRM so that they can pass the notes over to you safely and securely. They're not getting login credentials to CRMs. It's all via web form link. They're booking appointments on my calendar for me if there's something that is a good potential or a good qualified lead. And the way that they qualify a lead for me and for all of the investors that use it is the four pillars, right, of a good real estate deal. So property condition, motivation, time frame, price point. So if a seller is willing to give that information, on the phone, they better be booking an appointment, right? I want to know about it. I want the information. I'm going to listen to the recording. I want to see what's going on. And then from there, figuring out where I move forward, visit the house, those kinds of things.
Yeah. Yeah. And one other thing that I don't know if you mentioned this, but I feel like is useful for Call Porter is that all your callers are in the U.S. And this is nothing
100%. Yep.
against international callers. I have
Yeah.
had luck, but a lot of the times, you can get really cheap callers from
Mm-hmm.
the Philippines or something like that. But a lot of the times, that little bit of an accent, it does make a difference. And I know you don't feel like it does, but I've listened to calls and people will just hang up. And
Yeah.
so if you get somebody from the U.S., that does make a big difference.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So all of us, I Call Porter 100% US based. It's a funny story. I was talking to an investor who did use a VA overseas, who actually knew perfect English. He was like, her English, you couldn't really tell at all, that she lived in the Philippines. But the thing that kept driving him crazy was kind of our everyday idioms, right? That we know. And he listened to a phone call. There was a guy, he was in pre-foreclosure. And in the conversation with her, he said, "Hey, I'm really in the doghouse," right? So you and I would interpret I'm in the doghouse as I'm in trouble, right? I need help or something. She literally thought the guy was now living in his dog's house. And so the guy's listening to the recording. He was like, "Oh, that's it. I can't do it anymore." And so that's when he called us at Call Porter and we started taking his phone calls. But that's one story that has always just resonated with me. It's
Yeah.
so hilarious.
Yeah, you've hit
Yeah.
rock bottom when you're living in your dog's house.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, cool. So you're 10 properties a month or a year. That is, I feel like that's a really good number, especially for that's something that you can achieve if you have if somebody out there is working a W-2,
Yeah.
and you want to buy houses on the side. If you can add 10 properties per year to your portfolio, you're going to be scot-free in a couple of years. So,
Yeah.
how do you go
And
about
go,
financing?
yeah, I was gonna say go for four, one
Yeah.
a quarter if you're starting out. Chad talks about that in his book, The Small and Mighty Investor. Go for four. Don't even that. I mean, that's really what I did
Yeah.
at first. I went for four because I was like, that's something I can chew on, right?
Yeah. It's a
And focus
number that
on.
makes sense to me. Like
Yeah.
one per
Yeah.
quarter, I can do that.
Yeah. So financing, all me for the most part. So I'm a veteran as well.
Oh yeah.
So one thing that I've done it so a VA loan actually I can get up to about $800,000 in VA loans. And that can be as much property as you want in
Oh,
within that. It's
it's a
just up
limited
to
buy.
eight. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So what I usually do is, or what I have done is I could take a property out of the VA loan, refinance it, free up some money.
Mm,
Once the VA approves me, I'm always approved,
Yeah.
right? And I don't have to put any money down.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, you don't have to put any.
That's a
It's
deal.
0%. You don't have to put any money down with the VA loan.
That's great.
Um, so I just basically can recycle it out of there, which is pretty cool. But yeah, just all me
Yeah.
mostly. Yeah,
Very cool.
yeah.
Man, I wish they had one of those for civilians.
I know. Yeah, I love the veteran benefits that I do have. Especially within real estate. I went to Iraq in 2004 and 2005, and so I have 100% of my undergraduate and graduate degree was paid for. So I use whatever I can when it comes to those benefits for
Yeah,
sure. Yeah,
absolutely. You deserve it.
yeah,
All right. That moves us to the quick question round. We have run through our time.
yeah,
So it's time to jump on over. You ready?
yep. Let's do it.
All right. You're gonna slam dunk this one because you've already mentioned it. So I recommend or I need two recommendations for education.
Yeah.
Can be a book, one for real estate and one for life or general life wisdom.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So real estate is definitely going to be, Chad Carson's book. I love that one. And but believe it or not, the Keller Williams has a book that you can actually get online called it's the $1 Million Real Estate Investor.
Yeah.
It's actually
That's on
pretty
my
good.
list. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually pretty good. It's a thick boy. Like it's a thick book. It's got a lot of examples and things like that, but it is really good. An everyday book. I mean, I love Andrew Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a classic. If you haven't read that, it's really good. We actually built our script at Call Porter around Andrew Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yeah.
So I would say that's a good go-to.
Yeah. That's one of my all-time favorite I don't know, self-help, I guess, kind of
Yeah.
books.
Yeah.
I really hate the title, but because it just seems so cheesy, but the
It
content in
does.
there is
It's
just
very good.
really good. Just how to
Yeah.
treat people well. And so,
Yeah.
so Chad Carson, you talked about that before. Give us a little bit more detail about the book. Like, what is he? What is his main thesis? I guess.
Yeah. I mean, you can still be small as far when he says small, like if you're just going after some buy and holds, right? 4, 5, 6, 10 a year. After a few years, like you said, you're going to be well set, right? Especially when you hone into your criteria. And he talks a lot about what's called as FI, your financial independence number, right? So he's got a lean number, he's got a regular number, and he's got a fat number that he says like, you need to figure that out. Figure out how many rental properties you need to be financially independent, lean, right? Your basic needs, things like that. Your fat financial independent number is like, man, you can go on vacation, you rent an RV for the summer, you throw your kids in there, you're not going to have to worry about things. So that's what I love about his book is it's very simple, it's straightforward. He talks about how to get into financing, he talks about coaches, he talks about mentors. It's just a wide range of things, but just be small but be mighty. And you can do it with a W-2. It goes faster if you save some money and then spend 6 months really going at it. I love Call Porter. I love Ballpoint. I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. It's the relationships I have with these companies is too valuable for me. So I'll always be here, I think. But yeah, man, it's a really good book overall.
That's a
Yeah.
good right. What was the actual name of it again?
It's here, I got it right here. I thought maybe we could bring it up, but it's the
Yeah.
Small and Mighty Real Estate Investor right here.
Small and Mighty Real Estate Investor. I love it.
Yeah.
All right, that moves us. Oops. What were you gonna say?
No, that's it.
All right. Yep, that moves us to the next question. And so this is for your, I guess it wouldn't be younger self, but relatively younger self, the Vince who had not jumped into real estate of 3 years ago.
Oh
Look back
God.
at him, look him in the eye, give him one piece of advice moving forward.
I don't regret the military. I did it right out of high school.
Hmm.
So putting that aside, I would tell my younger self, learn sales
Oh yeah.
right away.
Yeah.
Learn sales. Do something, go to a AT&T or T-Mobile as a young kid, at 19, 20 years old. Just learn it.
Yeah.
Learn how to talk, learn how to be a good conversationalist, learn how to negotiate. And that skill alone, I think, will be worth $1 million
Yep.
for you later on down the road.
Absolutely. That's a good piece of advice. And especially good for people. Like I would say I'm kind of like an ambivert, or like I'm halfway between an extrovert and an introvert. And
I'm
some
right there
people,
with you. Yeah. I
yeah,
just recently learned that term too.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so people who aren't like naturally 100% extroverted, I feel like sales feels a little, just the idea of sales feels a little,
Yeah.
I don't know, icky. But once you realize, I even read a book that was Everybody Sells or Everything is Sales. I can't remember the title, but sales is everywhere. We're
Yeah.
always doing sales. And if you can get good at it, you realize that it is one of the most important skills that you can have, especially in business. Even if you're not in an actual sales position,
Hmm.
everybody needs to know how to sell, how to present their ideas, how to be genuine, all that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah.
good advice.
Yep.
I'm going to move us on to the next question, and this
Okay.
is about the U.S. It's a big place, a lot
Yeah.
of opportunity. Give me the single metro you're most excited about investing in today.
St. Louis.
St. Louis,
Yep.
your
Right here.
backyard. Yep,
My backyard. Yeah. I know
yeah,
it well.
yep. That is a good place to start. Is where you live,
Yeah.
and place to continue. And St. Louis is a
Yeah.
massive metro. So,
Yeah. Alaska's actually on my list as
okay,
well.
which one? Which city?
I'm from Kenai and Soldotna, which is on the Kenai Peninsula, just south of Anchorage.
Okay,
And Anchorage is also another area. So I have lots of family to have some boots on the ground up there.
yeah,
And I know it pretty well. But I think I'm gonna get up into Alaska at some point. Because you can actually do a lot of in the summertime, especially some good short term up there.
yeah, yeah. No, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Actually, side note, I read yesterday that the Alaska or the Anchorage airport during COVID was the busiest airport in the world because they have so much
Yeah.
transportation traffic from Asia to North
Yep.
America.
Yep.
I thought that was pretty crazy. You don't
Yeah.
think of Anchorage as being a place people fly, but
Yeah.
transportation, it makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. It's a pretty cool small little airport for sure at Anchorage. Yeah.
All right. Next question is about finding deals. It all starts with generating leads, getting in
Yep.
contact with the seller, and signing that purchase agreement. So, what is your favorite way to find new deals?
Ballpoint marketing with direct mail, and Deal Machine.
All right, there you go.
Yeah.
Direct mail is tried and true. You gotta love it.
It is the OG, y'all. It works.
Yeah,
The thing with direct mail, you've got to be consistent with it.
yeah,
Again, if you're a listener and you're like, "Hey, should I ever get into direct mail?" and you do it 1 month, you do it 2 months, and you don't get a deal, don't be like, "Oh, this doesn't work." You got to be consistent. We say at least 3 months, 4 months. So that's with any marketing, honestly. Just be consistent with it. Don't be a baby and give up.
how many times do you send a mailer to an individual address?
Oh gosh, up to 7 times.
You send 7 mailers
You can,
to
yeah.
one address. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, a sequence can be sent. Obviously you're going to get the return to senders. You're going to get people taken off, say, take me off your list. So Ballpoint has a sequence of letters where it actually sends a new copy and a new image.
Mm,
Um, so, followed up by phone calls, emails. Call Porter also has a fractional lead manager service where all of those leads get followed up and touched. Um, so yeah, I mean it's a lot. And
yeah.
that's another thing too, like consistently following up. Like if you're not following up, that is truly where the money is made and the fortune is made.
Yeah.
And a lot of people give up too quickly. Just somebody says, "Hey, I don't want to sell now," doesn't mean 3 months down the road they're not. A lot of things in life change in 3 months even.
Yeah, we're closing a deal right now in RV park, and I have been talking to that seller for over 2 years.
Hmm.
And you just never know. You never know. Things change in people's lives.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe 6 months down the line, now is the time to sell, and you got to be right there when the time changes.
Yeah. I just talked to an investor friend of mine yesterday. He got a PPC lead in 2020 from a
Wow.
guy, right? In 2020, he talked to him once and he just texted me. He's like, "Dude, this guy called me back 3 years later and
Wow.
yeah, and he's closing this deal like 3 years." And to be still on top of mind for that guy, I mean that means his follow-up game has been pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Second to last question. This is about lessons learned. Not every deal we go into goes the way we expect. Sometimes a wrench is thrown in there and the deal goes a little sideways. But in those opportunities is the lessons that we can take and apply those to future deals. So give me one deal that went a little sideways and what was the biggest lesson you learned?
Oh gosh. Um, okay. So, well, I'll say, how about post deal and just a renter?
Okay.
Just vet your renters.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how to describe this. I had a renter who he actually paid in cash, and every month he would put his cash like somewhere and have me go find it. And I drove like I'm not you can't make this stuff up, dude. He'd be like, "Hey, I got your cash in an envelope. I put it under the charcoal in the barbecue pit in the backyard." Right? Or, "Hey,
Bro,
I
I'm not
put
going
it."
there.
Yeah, he's like, "I put it in the power wheel, my son's power wheel where the battery pack is." And I mean, this happened for like months, right? And this is one of my first, things. So just super new, didn't really know what I was doing. Well, one day I went to go collect the rent and the door was open. The front door was kind of cracked open. So I looked in there, just kind of knocked, and I was like, what the heck's going on? Well, he's dead asleep on the ground or on the couch. His son, who's had to have been like maybe two, was awake in a diaper. There's cocaine on the coffee table.
Oh,
And
geez.
this is in a good area,
Yeah.
right? Like it's not like I was somewhere where it's just a bunch of crappy houses and people that, don't have jobs. I was pissed, right? Here's this. I mean, that little kid that could
Yeah.
have gotten his mouth on that cocaine. I mean, it could have been the end of his life. So, anyways, I get the sheriff involved and things like that. I go back to that house at some point. He chases me around the yard with an aluminum bat. I
Jesus
mean,
Christ.
yeah, like this was the worst deal ever, and I will never again be in any process. I vet my renters so well now.
Yeah.
Like that is so important. And I mean, you don't know at the end of the day if someone's a drug addict. Like, on paper he was fine. But there's some other things I didn't do where I didn't hit all of his contacts and previous references. I just hit, one. So yeah, that would probably be my worst story for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
getting good renters, yeah, it's night and day. You have to, if you get somebody who's bad, I've had somebody got pissed that I can't remember why he got angry, but he got angry and he left and he flooded the entire apartment by sticking stuff down the drain
I've
to
had that
drain the
happen to me
water.
too.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
like, come on. So,
Yeah, I had somebody throw baby diapers down the toilet and flush it, and then yeah, that
yeah.
wasn't fun. Um, can I talk about something that's really awesome though, real
Oh, yeah,
quick?
let's hear it.
Say on the same accord. So I would also say open your mouth. You never know if you don't ask, kind of
Yeah.
thing as well, right? So I was interested in a power washer at a garage sale. Um, Went to it because I just love power washing my old house and different things like that. Went to
Power
this garage
washing's fun.
sale.
I get
Power washing is really fun. My kids play it on the Oculus all the time. There's a little power washing game.
it.
Um,
That's funny.
so went to this house. It was just an elderly couple. They were offloading some things. You could just definitely tell that's what they were doing. And some big items too. But she said, "Hey, I got this exercise bike in the um, house as well. Would you be interested?" And it was really nice. It's not a Peloton, but it's a really nice exercise bike. So I was like, yeah, sure, I'll go look at it. I bought that too. So bought a power washer, bought the exercise bike. I've got 5 kids, and I'm always kind of looking for the next opportunity, right? So this house is 6 bedrooms, 3 bath, where I'm sitting right now.
Mm.
Um, and just ask them, hey, would you be open to selling this? And they're like, yes. They're like, however, our sons are the executors of our trust and really need to be in this conversation. One of them lived in Japan.
Oh, wow.
So it was a process to get it all said and done. But if I would have never opened my mouth at a garage sale to go and buy a power washer and said, hey, would you be open to selling this home? I wouldn't be here.
Yep.
So then another story is you never ever know, right? And I know people that actually go to garage sales to use this strategy that are like, hey, would you be open to selling? But really cool story, man. I've got tons of space for my kids. And it's a beautiful home. It's got great bones and an awesome neighborhood. And I got it for an absolute steal because their sons, one of them living in Japan, they didn't want to deal with any, realtors or anything like that at that point. So here we are.
Yeah, you never know where a deal is going to come from. So if you start talking to people, you never know.
Yeah.
Something might come through.
Yeah.
All right, that leads us to the very last question. This is for the listeners. I'm sure people want to reach out, get in contact with you, learn a little bit more about Call Porter and Ballpoint Marketing. So tell us, where can they find you and what can they expect when they reach out?
Yeah, they can find me directly at vince.hall@callporter.com. So you can reach out by email at any time. You can also find me on Call Porter Official on Instagram. I oversee that account, do all their social media and things like that. So you'll get me directly. Same thing with Ballpoint Marketing. You can do Ballpoint Marketing on Instagram or ballpointmarketing.com and find us. Yeah.
Cool. All right. I will put those links in the show notes. So if y'all want to reach out, just click the little more in the description. It'll pull down that full description. And in there you can find Vince's links.
Yeah. Gabe, I really appreciate this conversation, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for hopping on.
Yeah.
For everybody who's here with us today, thank you guys for showing up. You are the reason we do this. So if you guys have any questions, reach out to me, Gabe with realestateinvestingclub.com. And if you guys want to support the show, just give us a like, subscribe, share, all that jazz. Other than that, I hope you guys have a great week. Keep rocking real estate, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.